Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 33 of the North Star podcast. Today we have Jas Phaulka on the podcast, and today we're going to be talking about his wrestling career and how he got into it, and just overall his journey. He has a really cool story, and I think this is going to relate to people that are, either in the sports or just have some sort of goal that they're working towards. So, Jas, thank you so much, man, for taking the time today. To be on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeremy.
Yeah, no, Jas, so I just want to kind of start off, man, how'd you get into wrestling? How did you get to where you are today? And just talk a little bit about the journey to how you got here. So
I started wrestling when I was 10 years old. My dad was always into sports. He came from India, but he was like the local strong man in the village. Okay. He was known for being like 60 kilos, but he used to pick up a rock that was like 120 kilos.
Sweet.
So they didn't have like weights back in the day, but they had he was just unique, and he was really physically strong. So he's really big into sports, and he always kind of pushed me and my brother to be physically active, because he always said if you're physically active, everything else in life will you can take care of that, but first you got to be physically active. And so my brother saw a wrestling flyer at our middle school at Eugene Rammer, and he's just walking by and he's like, hey, I want to wrestle. And he came home, told my dad. We always had one rule in our house, and we still do: whatever you do in life, you gotta put your best foot forward. You gotta see it through. Yeah. And he sat down. My brother's like, "Is this something you want to do? It's not. We do it today and then we stop next week." Yeah. And my brother's like, "No, I want to do this." And then we found a local club as well, Mary Prairie Wrestling Club, because to be the best wrestler, it wasn't just gonna happen training twice a week at the middle school. So we started with the local wrestling club, and then sure enough, I got dragged along. I was totally against it. The funny thing is though, I was a huge mama's boy. I hated wrestling. I cried every day. When I used to play soccer, I used to be I think it's called midfield, or I would want my mom to come on the field with me. That's some bad separation anxiety I had. And so wrestling was not even a question. I couldn't do it. So I used to cry every single day. I hated it. But my grandma and my mom, always be no, keep going. Because I'd always come and talk to them at home. I don't want to go, right? But slowly, I think the biggest thing I loved about sport wrestling, and I still do, is I started doing, my dad would encourage me, hey, do some push-ups at home, do some sit-ups at home, do some squats, you'll get stronger. And I started doing 100 push-ups, sit-ups, squats every day.
Oh, that's wild.
At a young age, grade 5. But the thing I love about sport wrestling was because I was crying, getting beat up the first week, right? 2 weeks, month. But when I started doing that, the guys that were beating me up, I started closing the gap. And then I started beating them. That was so powerful. Because then I saw hey, if I put something into this, I get something out. And then I fell in love with that process. And that's why I still wrestle today. Because I feel the only limitations are yourself. And I learned that at a really young age through wrestling. And then, that led me all across the world. I think till date now I have 23 international medals. I've been on the national team for the last 16 years. And, wow. I've been a privilege to be, on Team Canada and have the great experiences. But yeah, that's how the journey started. It was just a simple flyer at a middle school where I kind of got dragged into it. But I think the foundation my dad kind of put down for me then was hard work, discipline, and he kind of put that, kind of showed me the way. And once I started doing that, I think that's when the love for wrestling came.
That's really cool, man. I think the thing that stood out too for me is you kept with it, right? Even though you didn't want to always do it and you didn't always want to show up. And I think it's a cool philosophy that your family had of if you're gonna do something, do it. Make sure you show up and you go. Mm-hmm. I think something that really stood out though is the Team Canada thing, and I think that's really cool because I know a lot of athletes out there that have obviously worked towards something, and maybe they've never been able to go professional or Team Canada, but kind of what does that what does that look like for being on Team Canada and in that direction right now?
I think when I first made it, it was a dream. Yeah. That 10-year-old kid wished so in wrestling, you got a singlet, right? It has your last name on the back. That was the dream. When I started wrestling, I used to see it. I used to think, wow, that's so cool. I wish singlet says Phulka on it one day. When I got my first singlet, it was like I said, it was a dream. But the first year I made Team Canada, I also had a chance to make history. So it was two things at once. It was just so I won the Youth Commonwealth Championships, and I got Outstanding Wrestler of the tournament. That was the first and last time in Canadian history that's ever happened. So it was like a double, like, wow.
Wow.
Right? Like, it was like, it was magic. Like, it was like, wow. It was like a Cinderella story. Like, I didn't even think that could happen. But that was the first year I made it. And then slowly, like, when I made my teams, I would see my idols there. Like, guys that I looked up to growing up, guys that I trained with. So I was so like, it was so cool to be around them. And then slowly, like, you know, I've been on the team for 16 years. So like slowly by like the 10th, 8th year, I was on the team with people my age. You know, people I grew up with, people that we went to the same tournaments as kids. So it was different. Now I'm on the team and I travel with people that weren't even born when I made my first team.
Yeah, I guess that's
So it's been like an evolve. Like it's been quite evolving and like it's been different. But now like some of the kids I train with or even around, like they weren't even born when I tell them about when I won the Canadian, like the history, when I made history. Right? To me, like 2010 is always such a remarkable year for me, and they're like, oh, we're born in like 2011 or 2012. But like, so it's been different. But representing Canada has always been, I always done it with pride, and I've been proud. Because I think like in a way it was a dream. You know, it was my parents' dream to come to this country, and it gave them a better life. And I always tell people it's a dream within a dream, because it was their dream to come here, but never did they think that their son would be representing Canada across the world.
Yeah, that's cool. Right?
Their dream was just to come here and give us a better life. But through their dream, I got to live my dream, and now I'm representing Canada across the world. And like so when I sometimes when I take a step back and I just look at it, I'm like, you know, that's pretty cool. Like, you know, they came here as immigrants, they worked hard, and then they gave us a better life. And now I got a chance to represent the same leaf that they were one day wishing they had a chance to, you know, be a part of. So it's pretty cool.
It's cool, man. What's the direction now with Team Canada? Like, what does that look like for you right now?
Yeah, so right now, I still want to wrestle 2028 Olympics. They're in LA.
Okay.
So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm excited for that.
So that's what you're working towards right now. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
So like realistically in the last like 16 years, I've wrestled every single tournament in the world except Olympic Games. I wrestled at the Olympic qualifiers. I wrestled at the world. I've been to the Senior World Championships 5 times. I've been to the Senior Pan American Championships like 8 times. Like I've done all Commonwealth. Like I've done all these tournaments so many times. I still love to do them, and I still want to do them heading into Olympic year. But coming off 2024, I told myself, is like, you just got to do whatever you got to do to be ready for 2028. What really happens in 2024 to 2025 to 2027 is not going to mean as much as what happens in 2028. So I need to make sure I'm in the best position to qualify the weight class for Olympic Games. As in when you're younger, you can take these as growing years and, you know, you learn from certain tournaments. But I think I've done a lot of tournaments. I've wrestled in this decade, or even some will argue the best wrestlers of all time. I've wrestled all of them. There isn't a wrestler at 74 kilos that I haven't wrestled that is considered one of the best of all time. So I've felt the best of all time. I've trained with the best. I've been all around the world. I've been in some of the best rooms in the world. I've trained with the best coaches. I've done it all. There's not one thing I can look back and think, well, this quad, I should do this differently, because I've done it all. But now I think I got to hone in all the knowledge I have and make sure my body's right and my mind is right so I can get the job done.
Cool, man. So when you had mentioned 74 kilos, is that usually the weight class that you feel most comfortable at? Have you been in other ones before? Like, what's your
so I was at 86 kilos when I came out of high school.
Okay.
But I came back down to 74 because I thought that was the best weight class for me to get a medal at the Olympics.
Okay.
And, you know, right now I'm not sure what I want to do, but for me, 74 kilos, and I think everyone knows, is the hardest weight class in the world. Usually the person that wins 74 kilos is the face of the program, and is usually one of the best wrestlers, because you know what, an average male probably weighs around 180, 185. Yeah. You know, you cut weight, you wrestle 163.
Yeah, that's a big cut, man.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the weight class everyone, like, it's the most interesting weight class. And I don't know, being a competitor, like, I think, like, you know, why not test yourself against some of the best? And, you know, I think, like, might sound a little weird, but I think I like a little bit of that suffering. You know, like cutting weight, you know, it just dials me in more. And I just know that it makes me tougher. You know, now when I wrestle with the full stomach and I don't have to cut weight, kind of feels weird.
Yeah, you probably don't feel as light and on your, like, do you find it's hard to go up and down in weight all the time? Like, is that hard on your body?
A little bit, but like there's only 6 weight classes in Olympics. So there's 74 kilos, there's 86. So it's 163 or 189.
Okay.
But if you're wrestling 189, guys are coming from like 205, 206.
Yeah,
There's some big guys.
Yeah.
And I've never weighed probably past 190 where I felt that I was good. Like I could still run a 6-minute mile. Like I'm fast. Like, and to beat the best guys at 189, they're gonna be running, you know, a 6-minute mile. They're gonna be, they're just physically bigger guys. So I think the 6 weight classes thing is kind of makes it a bigger issue. But yeah, coming down now, I think like I've pretty disciplined my diet and stuff, so it hasn't been like ever been an issue.
Yeah.
But discipline is one of my strongest traits, so like for me, it's never been an issue.
Well, you mentioned diet. I think that's kind of cool. That's a cool like little veer off here of what does that look like? Like what, you know, I know obviously it's probably going to look different if you're cutting versus if you're trying to just maintain, knowing that obviously more calories, less calories, but what does like a day-to-day kind of look like for you with your diet?
Yeah, I usually wake up. I'm big into cold plunging, so it's been a year now. So I wake up, I cold plunge, and then I usually have a hydration mix, and then a Cliff Bar, and then I go out and work out. Then I usually have like 4 eggs, toast, avocado. Then I usually go to work, and then at lunch I usually have like a chopped leaf bowl, but like a homemade version, where I have like beef, lettuce, and like all the veggies and stuff, and rice. And then I'll have some fresh juice. And then probably have another little snack like yogurt, granola, go work out again. And then I'll have like some kind of protein, steak or chicken, veggies, potatoes. And then I usually have ginger tea every night.
Okay.
That's what it is.
So just kind of key. And does it stay pretty consistent no matter kind of where, obviously maybe if you're trying to go up in weight or down in weight, you're going to go less calories or less.
Yeah, it stays pretty consistent, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I eat the same thing kind of every day. And like, I don't really ever try to force going down or up. Yeah. I just kind of eat consistently, and I just like to just train and just see where it is. Like, I've tried to gain weight where I've tried to focus on it, but I've always just ended up feeling like I feel like I get fat. I just don't feel good.
Yeah.
And then I always think to myself, well, when I was 4 pounds lighter, I was wrestling better.
And you felt better.
Yeah, like I felt better. Like on the mat, I was better. Like my style of wrestling is I'm in your face 6 minutes. Like I go hard for 6 minutes. So even if I'm stronger and bigger, but if I can't go hard for 6 minutes, that's not my style of wrestling. You know, there's some Russians that walk on the scale and they're 74 kilos.
Yeah. And
they have their shirt and shorts on. Like, they, you know, they don't even cut.
Yeah.
So I think your style and who you are determines a lot of things.
Okay.
Some guys don't have to cut weights. It just depends on your style. But my style is, like I said, it's like in your face, 6 minutes. So if I don't have the gas tank or the thing to go hard 6 minutes, it doesn't matter how much I weigh. And I feel like the more I eat, the more I lose some of that sometimes.
So the 70, like when you had mentioned 74 kilos, what do you feel currently right now? Like what is a weight that you just tend to maintain, not without effort, because obviously you're going to have effort, but what is something that you just are always kind of around that you feel pretty good training throughout the year?
I think naturally I'm probably like at 82, 83 kilos.
Okay.
I think that's my like natural body weight. When I used to wrestle 86 before, that's how much I weighed. I never weighed 86. I was always like 82, 83.
Yeah.
And when I wrestled 74, I'd be like that. But then I'd have to descend down to like 79, 80. So I think I'm naturally like 82, 83.
Okay. And then when you cut down to 74, what does that look like?
As I got older, like it was harder, obviously. And like it would just be like, you know, a Cliff Bar, 4 eggs, toast, and then chicken, veggies.
And just like, and until you get to that, but is there, I know like with wrestling and things, there's like, you know, the like sauna suits and all these different things. Like, what does that all look like? I think that's really cool, like from experience, because we can just talk about it, like you can read online, but it's really cool to hear from someone who's probably experienced it, and you've experienced it for years and years. Yeah.
So like leading up to last Olympics, like from May all the way to August, I made weight every second week, and every tournament was overseas.
Holy.
So people don't understand the grind of it. You leave on a Tuesday, you get there Wednesday night, go to sleep, you make weight Thursday, Friday, weigh in Saturday, wrestle Saturday, come home Sunday, week off, do the same thing Tuesday. So it was a lot of traveling, and like you don't have time for jet lag or any of that stuff, right? But like people don't understand. Like I was like 8-9 kilos or like 12 to 13 pounds over when I sleep 10 hours, 8 hours. But when you travel, you lose your sleep.
Yeah.
So that's another game factor. Like you're not losing that 3 pounds overnight. So you have to be so dialed in. And like the last 24 hours is like, yeah, it's not fun. There was days like as I got older, like there was when I was younger, I would have a Cliff Bar in the morning, the day of Friday, because we weigh in Saturday, and by Friday evening when I start my weight cut, it'd be gone. Like I would like piss it out, or I'd lose that 0.2. But as I got older, whatever I eat, whether it's a Cliff Bar, whether it's a sip of water, I had to physically take it off.
Interesting.
Like there was no like my body just wouldn't flush it out. Like I'd have to physically take it off, and that started getting harder. Friday evening would always look like, if I'm really heavy, I have to sauna suit with my clothes on, and then I have to go work out like a wrestling practice. Jeez. But you have your sauna suit on, and then you're pretty dead. And then you'd go sit in the sauna. And if you're not too bad, you just go straight sauna. If you're okay, if you're like a little bit heavy, then you just do sauna. But if you're really bad, you have to do both. But like, it's like there's nothing left. Like it got to the point where like sometimes when I was making weight, like I couldn't even like piss.
Yeah,
I couldn't even like I'd cramp.
Yeah, because you were so dehydrated.
I was so like I would cramp. I couldn't brush.
Wow.
Like brushing was like 20 minutes because I
have
to keep that. Yeah. And then my last tournament in August in Poland, like that's when I knew I needed some time off. Like even after the week, because you wrestle 2 hours after.
Yeah.
But people don't understand. You weigh in at 8, you wrestle at 10. But if you're wrestling like second match, you're warming up at 9. So you only have like an hour.
And you were trying to get probably water, some sort of food in, something.
Yeah, and in Poland, like it was bad. Like anything I would do on the match, I'd keep cramping. I couldn't physically wrestle.
Wow.
Like a guy went for my legs, I put my legs back and my leg would cramp. Like it was so bad. The weight cut is like, when you weight cut, you understand wrestling's fun. That's the fun part.
Yeah. And
like sometimes people that don't weight cut don't understand that. They're always like, some of my teams, oh man, I got this guy for this match, or I'm nervous, and I'd be like, dude, I don't even have time to think about that. I gotta make the weight. Right? That's my biggest battle. Yeah. And after you make weight, you're just drinking, you're eating, you're so happy because you can eat now, and then you just want to go out and have fun.
What's the most weight you've cut in like a 24-hour period?
Probably like 10 pounds. No, in like a 2-hour period, I've cut 10 pounds.
Whoa. Yeah. That's nuts, man.
Yeah. But I've trained my body to that. Like,
yeah, for sure. But like, it's just like, you think of people, they're like, I want to lose 10 pounds in X amount. But
like even right now, like I'm hydrated. Like I went to the sauna last night.
Yeah.
I do like a 45 to an hour every day.
Yeah.
Like in 3 sessions, I lost like 6 pounds, 7 pounds. Like that's normal though. I walk into the sauna, do like a 20, a 15, and a 10, or another 10, and I lose like 6 pounds. But my body's so hydrated and it's so used to sweating. So it's like I've trained my body for that. So like I'd say I'm a pretty good sweater.
Cool. That's sweet. That's a interesting. I'm glad you talked about it, because even for me, man, like I know the only other really like weight, I guess, cut or like dryness or whatever would be like bodybuilding would be another kind of industry where I've heard that. But wrestling, I've never really dug deep with someone. So that's really cool. When it comes down to your training though, you talked a little bit about that too, but what does that look like for you on a weekly basis? But what does that also look like leading up to an event? What's the difference?
I think it looks different. Right, it looks different as age too.
Yeah.
As you get older, it's a little bit different as when you're younger. But I grew up in the U.S. system, so a lot of the training is just for your mind. A lot of it doesn't make sense if you look at it or if you read it out. Like what? Like, but it's just to train the mind. And that I think is the most powerful thing. I think training your muscles is easy, and I think everyone does it. But training the mind is the hardest part. And so a lot of wrestling training will look like a lot of wrestling. And when I was at Iowa State, the coach used to like sometimes turn the heat up because it's wrestling day, and he would assign you a partner because you don't get to pick your own partners because again, human nature, we're gonna pick an easy partner.
Yeah, you're gonna.
So he put a partner, and he put the time on for 40 minutes, and he said, if you're gonna get hurt, it's a good time to sit out. But once the clock starts, you're resting for 40 minutes. So I've seen grown men with like their shoulders coming out and they're just in there for 40 minutes. But that was like the Iowa way. If you ever Google Iowa wrestling, the Iowa way, you'll understand. It was a hard nose, just get in your face, keep going. And that's how we train. I think like all year when we're not in tournaments, like it's just to build them. Like this week, like all my training sessions were 45 minutes where I put the time on the clock and we just scrapped. You know, you just shake hands and figure
just
it out. But I think you learn the most in those sessions, and I think you learn a lot about yourself. Even now, as you get older, when I was younger, I'd shy away from it now, and I always tell my friends too, it's like, I love it.
Yeah.
I like to see what I'm made out of. Like, I like to shake hands and let's do this. You know, and my mind is saying like, don't, and, oh, you're tired. I just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And you have 45 minutes to push yourself to the point of where you think you can't go there. You know, go to the areas that you think you can't go and just keep going. Like, and then when I think tournaments are coming, that's when you got to be like, you know, you got to do more matches. You know, 1 minute goals, winning, losing, stuff like that. It's more strategic because you're going to be in certain positions in a match where you got to be used to. But other than that, like off season, when you're not in tournament mode, it's just about building the mind, I think. You know, it's, you know, training hard in the morning, sprints, lifting, and then going on the mat and resting 45 minutes and then waking up and doing it again because you're not going to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be days you probably be sick. There's going to be days you're going to be hurt. How do you push through that?
Yeah, how do you work your...
If you can do that, though, then you can wrestle after 1 hour weigh-in and your body's cramping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because wrestling, you got to prepare for the worst conditions because you're going to be put in the worst conditions. You got, like, I always tell people, UFC and some of these things, you have one fight. In a wrestling tournament, you have 4 or 5 matches, right? There's 4 or 5 different opponents you're preparing for. There's a random draw. There's so many crazy things that happen in a wrestling tournament. You know, in a UFC, like sometimes you'll see like there's a champion, but people will be like, oh, well, he can't beat that guy. You know, sometimes that's the way the matchups are made. That guy stays champion for a little bit, but he's probably not the best fighter. But in a sport like wrestling, you find out who the best guys are every single time. You go to the world championships, there's no ifs, there's no buts. There's going to be a world champion. And there's going to be a silver and there's going to be a bronze. And they're going to have to wrestle to figure it out. There's no matchmaking. There's no trash talking. It's so humbling.
What's like based off of all these different tournaments that you've had and over the years, you've been doing it for a while now. Has there been a story or a match that has really stood out to you that you'd want to share? I think it'd be cool for you to share a story that really stood out to you.
I don't think any stories like that particular. Like, I know I've had a lot of matches and a lot of wins and a lot of losses and all. I think the biggest stories that stood out to me were some of my idols or some of the people that I saw as like the GOATs of the sport. They respected me.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, and I never thought they would even know who I was. You know what I mean? Because you don't think like that. Because you think like that's the GOAT. And they've talked to me and they've come up to me and they've talked about my matches or stuff that I do well. And to me, that was really humbling. Also, confidence booster
for sure.
But also like, hey, like, you know, I'm on that level too. The level that I saw these guys at one day. You know, they see me there too, or they treat me this, and I think that was really humbling. And just getting the recognition when you go across the world and you land and they come up to you, hey, like, how's it going? And it's just like a, you know, 4-time Russian world champ, but like he recognizes you because, you know, you guys wrestled at that tournament, you know, that kind of stuff, those kind of stories. Because, you know, like I said, I was a small kid from Abbotsford. That was a dream. That wasn't even like a I didn't even think that could happen. So like, I've been in rooms with some of the best of all time, the greats, and they know who I am. You know, face to face, we talk, and I think that's when you know you made it.
That's cool, man. I kind of want to transition a little bit here because we had talked a little bit about this off camera about, you know, what it looks like to be tested and things like that in wrestling when it comes to either drug testing or like blood or urine or anything like that. But what does that look like, you know, if they need to come test you or if you have to go to a tournament? Like what does that whole process really look like?
Yeah, so like in Canada, like I was telling you, it's pretty intense. Like you got to give them an hour slot of the day. Mine's usually, like I said, 5 to 6 a.m. And they can come whenever. And then you got to let them know, like it's called whereabouts, but you got to let them know. So let's say I'm going to go work out at Fitness Lab later. I got to write it in there, like 11 to 12 Fitness Lab. And I got to put the location. And then you put your home address every day where you're going to be sleeping. If me and the family want to go on a vacation, I got to put that in there. So you got to put your whereabouts in 24/7. But they are pretty strict. But I also think, in general, testing is so far behind, in my opinion. And like, it's just like, steroids is something that I've been really like passionate about too, like growing up, because I felt like the amount of people I've seen cheat in the sport of wrestling
Yeah, I was gonna
is
say
ridiculous.
well, so is that what they're mainly looking for? Like a steroids?
Yeah,
like,
but it's so easy to cheat the system.
yeah,
And nowadays, like, people are taking steroids like in grade 11, grade 10, grade
yeah,
9,
really young, man.
and you can't test that someone that young.
Yeah.
By the time,
So is there
so you can only test them after high school.
like
when
after 18, or is
Yeah.
that? Oh, interesting.
And
Okay,
then
I
by the
didn't know
time they're there, it's out of
Yeah.
their system, right? You're not gonna get anyone.
that. Yeah.
So like it's even across the world, it's so bad. Like you go to some of these tournaments in Cuba, like I've seen syringes on the ground.
Wow.
But like I said, I take pride, and I always tell people this: I never took any banned substances. I wrestled in the hardest weight class in the world, and I take pride in that. And I think like when you take shortcuts and stuff, I think like I don't think you have the same confidence and same like, and I think you know you're cheating deep inside.
Mm.
And you know, I don't do this for the money. I don't do this for the medals. I do it because I love it.
Yeah.
And some of these other guys, they need the money, or they do it because you know, in their country they'll get a job, or some of these guys do it because, you know, maybe their dads wrestled and they're trying to make a name because their parents couldn't. I do it because I love the sport, and that's why I do it. And I don't think I don't need any enhancement. You know, I think God's given me more than enough. I don't need anything else.
Yeah, it's interesting to. I didn't know that about the how you couldn't do it at a certain age.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But I know you had even said like Tylenol, Advil, like you got to be like what.
Yeah.
What's the difference? What's the reason around that?
I don't know. We were always just told that. I'm not even sure. I think there's something in there, but like everything you take's got to be like trusted. It's got to have a check mark.
Yeah. I've seen those on like
Yeah.
BioSteel usually has that one on there.
Yeah, and there's a site called Global Drawer. It's global something. I forgot the name of it. And then you gotta go on there and you gotta put the medicine in there or whatever it is, and you're just gonna make sure that it's clean.
Wow. But would they have to be testing for that specific compound or that specific thing, or how does that like whole all work?
I think so, or I think so. There's a chance that there may be something else in there. Like you never know. Like the company's not if the company's kind of being wishy-washy, then they're not gonna recommend you take it either. Like they don't recommend going to Booster Juice and drinking a smoothie.
Wow.
Like they don't recommend that.
Just
you can still do it because you don't know what's going in there. Technically, if I go to Booster Juice and have a smoothie, and they come and test me tonight, right after that, you know, something could be contaminated. They might have not washed the things properly. Like the chances, I think, are really highly unlikely, but you never know.
Yeah.
So, are you willing to take that risk? That's on your own hands, then, right?
Yeah.
But then I always laugh because I know guys that are full on cheating and they're not testing positive. Like, what am I gonna test positive for Booster Juice?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting point, man. You had mentioned something that really stood out to me is like you had mentioned too in that little conversation that we had about the drug testing was the money, and how you're doing it for the love of wrestling. But I also want to know like what are the chances somebody wrestling or any athlete with the Olympics and stuff, like what does that look like? Do you get money for going to tournaments? Do you get money for winning a medal? Like how does that all work? Like what's the...
Yeah, so we got money from the government.
Okay.
A certain Skype in a month, and then you can get like when you go and train in the States, and if you live there, you can get more money. They'll pay you good salary to live there and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna get super rich by being an athlete.
Yeah.
But I truly think you get a form of money that's priceless.
You
know, like the things you get to do, the things you get to meet, and most importantly, the lives you get to impact.
Yeah.
You know, I met a lot of people throughout my career. A lot of people, a lot of money. A lot of big, managers. A lot of people that had a lot of money. Private jets, everything. But they all didn't have one thing, and they said, you guys are lucky enough to do this. Like this is different. Traveling the world, representing a country, people look up to you. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Like, when you fly on the plane, you can be business class, you can have a private jet. It's not the same. But I always tell people when you travel as an athlete, it's just different. People will make room for you. You can get to budge lines. It's just different. It's a different type of respect. And when I go on a vacation, like you gotta go stand in the passport control. When the guy asks you like, where are you going? You gotta say vacation. You can kind of put your head down.
Yeah.
But when you're going for a tournament, it's just different.
Yeah.
People. It's just a different type of respect, and it's universal. Sometimes you don't speak the same language, but you see the ears. Like, it's just a different type of respect, and I think that payment is just so priceless.
That's cool, man. No, I think I just it's interesting to hear because a lot of times I think, when people see either an athlete or they see this, they think, they're making all this crazy money and, maybe by sponsorships and things like that. But I think and like you said, like the Olympics are every 4 years, right? So, and that doesn't even guarantee that you always go to the Olympics too, right? So that also is a huge, I don't know about if the right word is risk, but there is a big 4-year period where you're putting a lot of time and a lot of your effort in those 4 years to either make it or not make it, right? For yourself now, you had said that 2028 was that was kind of the goal, and I kind of want to go back a little bit to that, but is that something that is just kind of like your last like push? Is that something that you're like, is this the last kind of push that you want to make? Is that 2028, or do you think after that that's gonna?
I don't know. Like I think I love the sport too much. I'm not sure, but like even right now, like when I go on the mat and I put my shoes on, I feel alive. Like I just nothing beats it.
Yeah.
Nothing beats it. Nothing goes to go in the gym, jumping and this. Nothing beats that. I feel alive. I feel so good, and like I said, it's one of those things that money just can't buy. Like that feeling, when you just put the Canada singlet on, you're in the middle of the mat. You got the World Championships, and you're walking out, and they call your name. Nothing beats that. And that is a feeling that I chase till today, and I feel good. Most importantly, like I want to push it back. I'm 30. Turning 32 this year, but I want to show people everything's possible. When I was growing up, people thought 26 was too old. I want to show people that it's all up here.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm a big believer in living by example. And I want to sit here with my kids one day and say, what, Dad did whatever he could to chase his dream. And if I quit at 2028 and I know I wasn't ready to quit, then I can't tell my kids that.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that when I leave the sport of wrestling, there's no stone left unturned. Like I left everything on the mat. My body was physically not handling it, mentally. I want to make sure I take it to that point where I'm ready to step off the mat. Other than that, I think I'm going to keep going.
Because 2028 would be 35, 36? How many 35 or 36-year-olds are competing?
Not many.
That's what I was going to say. So that's a big push, right?
Yeah.
Well, and so how's your body then after all these years?
It's obviously like aches and like it's not perfect. I have some aches, I have some back, neck, but it's good. Like on Monday I went 45 minutes hard with we wrestled around with a guy that weighs like 245, 250.
Wow.
If I can do that, then I'm fine, right?
That's a huge difference.
Yeah,
in weight,
and
man.
I can still handle it. Like my back was fine, my neck was fine. I woke up the next day.
Yeah.
Like we were sparring, we weren't going full on, but like my body was fine. Usually people at 31 can't even move, right? And I felt good. So like I think it's mindset though. And I never shy away from things. If I said I'm going to run, I'm going to run. I used to train in a room at Oregon State, and it said, the body doesn't command the mind commands the body. And I followed that throughout my life, I write out my plan on Sunday, what I'm doing throughout the week. And just because my back's tired and my legs are shot, doesn't mean I'm not going to run. I get on the treadmill and I do it. And I think if you keep that mentality, you stay young, man.
Yeah.
Like the more excuses you make for yourself, the older you get, I feel like. Like you start shying away. I can't do this now because my back is bad. If I did that, I wouldn't be wrestling today. I probably wouldn't even be working out because doctors told me in 2020 that I can't wrestle ever again.
Oh, really?
And the same doctors I see now, oh, wow, you have crazy improvement. And I was like, well, it's all, I think a lot of it is in your mind.
So you just said something that kind of, your doctors tell you 2020 don't why? What happened?
I had a really bad neck, like really bad. It's happened through my Olympic qualifiers. I lost feelings in my shoulders. I couldn't do a push-up. They weren't sure if it was ever going to turn on again.
Wow.
And I was still training twice a day every day, right? Because I didn't know it was that bad. And then I got ECGs. Not ECG. I forgot what it's called. I got some stuff done, like nerve test. And next thing you know, like it wasn't on. They're like, it wasn't sure it was going to turn on. God willing, everything happened. Everything was fine. It turned back on. Everything was good. But I just thought, okay, well, I got a bad neck. Okay, well, what can I do to make the other muscles stronger? I was always positive. I'm just a really positive person.
Yeah.
I don't get down like that. So I just worked on my weaknesses. I took pressure off my neck. and I feel good again.
Do you do a lot of treatments, like physios and stuff
Yeah.
throughout the week? Like,
Yeah.
what does that look like for you?
So I have a really good physio here in town. His name's Dan Boss. He's my guy. Like
Yeah.
I'll text him like every day. And, like
Yeah.
sometimes I see him every day. Sometimes I see him every second day, but I see him a lot, and he keeps me good.
Cool.
And then I get some like injections sometimes, whatever's needed. But I take good care of my body.
Yeah.
So it should be fine.
So is it just physio? No, like, do you do massage, chiro?
No massage.
anything?
It's just, especially here, it's so hard to get into massage.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like my schedule is so sporadic. So I just get physio, and then like I said, I think all the things I do in a daily day like help me recover, like sauna,
Yeah.
right?
Do you do any, like, foam rolling?
Yeah,
anything
foam
kinda?
rolling, and then like
Okay,
sauna
okay.
for 45 minutes a day. So I think that's why helping.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I think just being physically fit, staying in good shape, eating right, all that stuff is just boosting my
Compounds.
recovery, right? So that's just like helping me. I think I always eat well, I sleep well, so like all that stuff I think just helps me.
That's cool. You had mentioned too, a little. I wanted to kind of shift a little bit too about your coaching and you help doing some coaching and stuff too. What does that look like right now for you, and how does that feel to kind of give back and look back at where you started, and now you're probably helping kids that are around that age too, where you started.
Yeah, I think like my biggest thing was like, someone gave me an opportunity, right? Like I didn't know it. Like no one in my family wrestled. Yeah, my brother wrestled before me, but my dad or no one else wrestled. My uncle, no one wrestled.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I had to figure it out myself. Like when I went to Iowa State, Minnesota, all these places in the world, I didn't know anyone. I would go into these rooms and try to get to know people.
Yeah.
And it was hard, but if I did it. If I can do it, anyone can do it, right? And so I got into coaching because I want to help change someone's life. I think that's my true calling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I don't think wrestling is my true calling. I think I'm bigger than the sport of wrestling. I think the wrestling was the avenue, but I want to change people's lives. I want to give them an opportunity to do what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, I always tell the kids that coach too is I want to go to Olympic Games, but I also want to coach at the Olympic Games.
That's cool, dude.
I want to, and I want to, and that's just kind of my thing. And I don't want to, and be above wrestling, above all that. I want to help, impact people's lives. And because I feel like I have so many tools
Mm-hmm.
that if I don't use them, then what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point of spending 10 years in the U.S. and training and meeting all these guys and learning all this information if I do nothing with it?
Yeah, that's true.
So I try to pass on as much as I possibly can. And the cool thing about me right now is I'm still chasing my dream. So a lot of the kids I coach, I make them work out with me twice a day.
Yeah, so they get
to see it as well, what it takes. But most importantly, they get to do world-class workouts.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not just saying it, I'm doing it with them. For me, if I had that, I'd be so lucky because that's so powerful.
Yeah.
If you're working on with the guys training to go to Olympic Games and you're wrestling at a local high school tournament in Abbotsford, I'd be like, I'm not going to lose here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I just think that, and I think like, yeah, so I just think I like that. And I think like just impacting and helping others, I think that's like the true calling of life, right? Like what you have, how can you do it to make it a bigger impact?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm trying to do now. And, I volunteer and I help as much as I possibly can. The main reason I volunteer is though, because I think selectively, I like to select what kids I work with because truly I'm a really passionate person, but I'm a really hardworking person.
Mm.
And sadly, this day and age, I don't see that much of that anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff when you go to these sports and you go to these clubs, it's all recreational. It's all people just dropping their kids off so they don't have to deal with them for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell myself I want to volunteer because I only want to work with kids that I truly believe want to be the best in the world, want to be the best in the country. And then I'm all in.
Mm-hmm.
I will do whatever it takes.
They give you the same kind of
Yeah,
back,
exactly.
for
Because
sure.
I don't want to put in so much effort and not get it back. Like, what's the
Yeah.
point of that? It's a waste of my time.
Have you found that you've become a better wrestler by coaching?
Yep, for sure. I think because you see things differently. You gotta like really like
Yeah.
hone in on your skills. And I always laugh to my fiance. I think I've become a better father as well because you get more patience. Because but it helps you. It also like it helps you grow as a person as well. You more patience. There's more roles. There's more responsibility. Usually when I'm working out, I just work out. But now, like, I gotta change the weights for them. I usually take their bar and unrack it for them because I don't want them to get hurt,
Yeah.
right? Because I know I can pick it up. I don't know if they can pick it up. So I'm like more like, so it's also making me more, mature in a way, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it helps me see things from their lens. And then it also shows me like, oh, it's good. I think it's good. I think it's always good for. I think as a coach, you're the year's best coach while you can still do it. I don't think you're that good of a coach when you can't no longer really do the sport.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more of a high level coach. Like, I think you need a coach at a younger age that can still physically do it. I think as you get older, like at my age, you need a coach that's been through it all.
Mm-hmm.
That just sits there and can tell you what to do kind of thing. Because I know what to do. But sometimes when you're 13, 14, you're not going to know what to do. Someone's going to go physically in there and show you and move around and show you. And I think that is pretty powerful.
Cool, man. I think the thing that also, is really cool about you is that you're like you said, you're still chasing a dream, but you're also able to help and be part of the community in a way too, of upcoming wrestlers too, right? I do want to talk a little bit about something that we haven't chatted about, but it's the foundation that you're part of and how that all got started. And I think that'd be really cool for you to talk about the reason you got into it, but also too, what does that look like now moving forward for it? And what is the foundation called too? So
yeah, so I started the JP74 Foundation back when my grandmother passed away. And in 2020, and she always told me to help others and give back as much as you possibly can, and she said that was a true calling in life. And she always used to tell me it's not about what you have or what you do, but it's about how you make others feel that truly matters. So I remember I'd always be like, even as a kid, always trying to help others, give back, and then I started the foundation, and we started a toy drive. Like I was telling you, there's one Instagram post, and it's so today, till date, we raised over almost $150,000.
Wow.
And then during COVID, I delivered over 100 pizza boxes to the hospital.
That's cool. How was that? That must have been cool, man.
It was cool. It was different. Everyone's wearing masks and stuff, but it was cool.
Yeah.
And during the floods, I did over 100 boxes for all the.
I forgot about that, man.
So like I always try to be present when the community needed me.
Yeah.
Because I think a true leader. Like I had a lot of success on the mat, but I think a true leader is someone there for the community.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I always try to be. Like I said, growing up, I'd always see wrestlers and other sport athletes doing fundraisers for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
We need money for these trips. I wanted to change that. I wanted to be the athlete that does fundraisers for others, helps the community. Because if you're an athlete, you're already privileged. You're already the 1%. There's people out there that are fighting for their lives right now. There's kids that don't even have a chance to do sports.
Yeah.
Right? So why are we raising money for our sports teams? I think that's selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's not the way to go. I think the way is to help others, uplift others. And if you're an athlete, people are already looking at you as a role model, as a figure in the community. So when people are already looking at you, why don't you just give them charities and other organizations to go and help? Like, to me, that made sense as a kid. And through my foundation, that's what I've tried to do is try to leave a bigger impact. So we have our toy drive, we have any initiative that happens in the community, we're always there. I started a scholarship in the memory of my grandmother and my grandpa last year.
Okay.
So we do $1,000 each for them. I started a combine with Fitness Lab this year.
Yeah, that's
so doing
cool.
that. So just trying to do as much as I possibly can for the youth.
Yeah.
And just give them opportunities. Because like I said, someone gave me an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to give as many opportunities forward as I possibly can. Because I always tell people, you never know where the next Olympic champ's sitting.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't know. So just go out there, give opportunities. You never know what's going to come from it.
Do you guys have any other kind of plans for the foundation and what you guys want to do? And
I think one day, I see big plans for it, like, having tournaments and all that stuff. But for right now, I think just like the toy drive, build the combine, scholarships, and I think just slowly keep building. But one day, I want to make sure that if there's ever an athlete in Abbotsford that needs help for any sort financially, I want to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I want to be able to provide that athlete with whatever they need to
the means
reach their
to
dreams.
be able to. Yeah, that's cool. No, I think, man, like at the end of the day, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to chat about your story and get to inspire some others too. I always like kind of ending off the podcast about where can people kind of find you? What are some things in the next maybe 6 months or anything if there's any local tournaments or anything like that, like what kind of looks like that for you and kind of go from there.
Yeah, you can find me on social media at Jasmit Phulka or jphulka74. Next 6 months, I got my national championships coming up in end of May.
Okay, where are those?
Edmonton.
Oh, cool.
So,
okay.
And then a week after that, I get married. So.
Oh, dang, man!
Yes, it's gonna be quick.
Oh, wow, it's gonna be.
I gotta make sure
busy.
I don't get too many cuts.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be quick. Other than that, yeah, if anyone ever needs me in any shape or form, I'm always available, and I always want to help others. Feel free to reach out. I'm only a message away, and I always make sure I reply and do whatever I can possibly do. But I think the key is, together we're strong, and community we're strong, and I think if we can uplift each other, opportunities are there.
Cool. And then anything to do with the foundation? Is there any that reach out as well if anybody wants to kind of be part of anything?
Anyone reach out in any way. If they want to collab on something or anything, always open to
figuring
do
out
whatever. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Jas, for being part of it, and everyone else. Thank you so much for listening to episode 33 of the North Star Podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks, buddy. Thanks.